Hey there, Rissa here. This is Rissa, my lovely model for today, and we are shooting the Thai massage Valentine's workshop recap video, and this is from the February 14th workshop. We started out with our partner supine, flat on their back, face up toward the ceiling, so head over there. And we began bringing knee to chest. So kneel next to your partner's leg that you're going to bring toward their chest. Scoop underneath the ankle and underneath the knee and rise up to a lifted kneeling position. Initiate a bend and guide the knee toward their chest, kind of walk toward their torso on your knees. And from here, I'm going to come into a lunge. So my foot is planted on the outside of the hip of the bended knee. From here, I sink my hips down and forward, bringing her knee toward same side shoulder as I compress my opposite hand down into the straight leg, just above the knee. On an inhale, we lean back. Exhale, compress, second hand position at the mid-thigh. Inhale, lean back. Exhale, compress below the front hip bone, same thigh. Inhale, lean back. Remove to the second hand position at the mid-thigh. Inhale, lean back, return to the first hand position just above the kneecap. Some of us have a pinchy feeling at the front of the hip of the side where we're bringing knee to shoulder, and if that is the case for you, then just don't push too far. Stay right where it's not sharp and painful. From here, we moved into a pigeon pose, an assisted pigeon pose. So grab onto the heel and the knee. Switch your kneeling position, or your lunge position rather. Knee comes down, plant foot to the opposite side of the straight leg. From here, turn the palms forward and guide the outer ankle. So my hand is on her outer ankle, and the top of my hand is resting on my inner knee. Other hand supports her knee, and I'm gonna make some circles. To move into more of a static pigeon pose, we bring the shin toward the opposite shoulder. So I'm just going to lean forward here and lean back a few times. And after this assisted pigeon pose, thread partner's knee crease to the front of your own knee to initiate a twist. So from here, I'm going to bring one hand down to the ground, scoot my grounded knee forward so I can reach her opposite shoulder with my hand. And now I guide her outer knee down toward the mat. Second hand can support the low back, especially if this is a tight posture for your partner. But if it's more open, then you can ground hand to the front of the shoulder as you compress into this twist. We've got three hand positions here, just like we did at the top of the thigh. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 2, and 1. You can move with your partner's breath. As they exhale, compress near the outer knee. Inhale, lean back. Compress at the outer thigh. Inhale, lean back. Compress at the outer hip. Inhale, lean back. Second hand position at the outer thigh. And then first hand position at the outer knee. From here, we're gonna keep them moving forward. So roll them onto their side and then scoot back onto the mat, Marissa, all the way over to this side. So the knee that was in the twist, we're just gonna keep collapsing it forward. The bottom arm, you can bring to the other side of the body so you don't like cut off your own circulation here. And now we're gonna move up to the hip and low back. You can compress the hip from the same side as the straight leg or from the same side as the bended knee. And actually in class we did both, so I'm going to show you both now. Sit kind of sideways in a zigzag leg position. It's Bharadvajasana in yoga, if you know that posture. If not, just sit in a way that's comfortable for you so that you can use the forearm and compress at the gluteal tissue, not the bones. I'm kind of detracting the tissue away from the sacrum, away from the spine, away from the middle of the hip. If you find a spot that feels good for you and for your partner, you can lock and sync. And ideally, you want to be as relaxed as possible in your own body here. So my shoulders stacked over my forearm. I'm not using the pointy part of my elbow. I'm not using my wrist. I'm using, they call it the proximal fifth of the forearm in massage practice. That just means the fifth of the forearm that's closest to the elbow. After you compress at the glute, you can jump up to the low back. And again, not on the bone. So above the iliac crest of the pelvis and below the rib cage. Also not at the spine, just next to the spine. And even here, we're going to detract the tissue. I'm going to scoot up so I get a better positioning. Always reposition your own body so you're as comfortable as possible before compressing into your partner's body. So from here, I'm going to lock and then slowly sink into it. Sort of pulling the tissue away from the spine, but mostly it's just sinking straight down. Try not to touch the pointy part of your elbow to the spinous process, bony part of the vertebra, because that just doesn't feel good. So aim for the muscular tissue. After a few compressions, you can lock and sink and hold for a minute or two, whatever feels best for your partner. Remember, we can go around to the other side. It doesn't matter if you sit facing your partner's feet or facing their head. It's just really whichever forearm is most comfortable for you, whichever orientation is most comfortable for you. From here, I'm kind of locking and sinking toward the tailbone. We can get that outer glute, that gluteus medius area. So instead of pulling the tissue away from the bone, in this case, I'm locking and sinking right into that outer hip crease. You can stay here for 90 seconds, about 15 breaths if you find a good spot. And then same thing, we're going to move up to the low back, not hitting any of the bones of the pelvis or rib cage. And this time we're going to lock and sink toward the spine, but not with the pointy part of the elbow. As comfortable as possible in your own body. You can communicate with your partner and ask them how the pressure is, if they want more, less, or the same. Remember, any feedback they give you is not about you and your worth as a partner or a massage therapist. Let this be like a level playing field. They're just going to request what feels good to them today. And it's up to you to try to honor that as best you can, but really at the end of the day, just do your best. Acknowledge your limitations. It's not up to you to try to fix them or their body. That's what professionals are for. This is just to help alleviate some tension, reduce some pain, and feel and show the love. All right. So after you address the hip and low back, we're going to straighten the bended knee, coming flat onto the belly. And have our partner bring their arms down by their sides. And actually, Marissa, would you scoot down? Your feet are probably going to go off the mat. I want to show.
Good. More?
Let's see. I think that's good. So arms down by your sides. Turn your head to the right. Scoop your partner's hair out of the way. And sit so that your feet can compress into your partner's shoulders. So I'm going to use, I'm going to use the foot where the arch of my foot matches up with the neck. Just start with that foot because it's a little bit softer for more of a warm-up. Ideally, if you can lean against a wall, that's great because then you just really don't have to use much effort at all. If your partner wants more pressure, you can switch feet and use the knife edge of the foot, the outer edge of the foot, especially close to the neck. There's a lot of muscles that overlap there. Is pressure okay? Mm-hmm. And the further you go out to the outer edge of the shoulder and push forward and down, the more of a stretch your partner will feel. So after you work on the shoulders, and really you can lock and sink here for a while. It'll feel really good. Sometimes people fall asleep. So to smooth it out, balance it out, after you work both sides, come into a kneeling position, framing your partner's head. And we're going to palm walk down either side of the spine, those long bends of muscle, the erector spinae group, etc. Broad palms compressing through the whole hand, not just heel of hand. Once you get about in between the shoulder blades, you need to come up into a more lifted kneeling position so that your shoulders are stacked over your wrists and your hands. And palm walk all the way down to the low back, and then all the way back up to the shoulders. And that is all we did for the Valentine's Couples Thai Massage workshop from February 14th.